Hi, everybody. I'm Allison Clarke, and I am with Vizio, and I am really excited for this conversation. We'll explain a little bit about our headwear in a moment, but let me first introduce my guest, who is Fara Howard, CMO at GoDaddy. And Farah's been there for the past 6.5 years. She's held prior roles at Amazon, Dell, Gatorade, and Vans, so some small brands, not quite. But one of the things that I read about you is how you feel marketing's primary role is to really advocate and understand the consumer. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but first, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you're here in Cannes?
All right. Hi, guys. I am excited to be here today. I'm Fara Howard. And the reason that I'm in Cannes is because of this guy behind me and the Super Bowl campaign that we ran that's in market right now. So we are super excited to be here from a creative standpoint, both to learn from other awesome brands and, fingers crossed, move from shortlist to winner for a Cannes Lion today. So we'll see. If you can see what I'm wearing, you might be like, does she know that she's got ridiculous glasses on her head? Yes, I do. And that's actually part of the story. So rather than me tell you the story, let me run our 2-minute Cannes Lion submission, give you a little bit of context on the campaign, and then maybe I'll put these goggles on and we'll have a good conversation.
Hello, Cannes Lion judges. I've never been in a Cannes Lion entry before, so I don't really know what I'm doing. But I'm going to make it look like I know what I'm doing because I am an actor.
I can make you believe I'm a detective without ever stepping foot in an actual crime scene. Oops, I have no idea what these buttons do. I've never driven a stick in my life. On my hardest role yet, small business owner.
Because I really didn't know what I was doing, which is where GoDaddy Aero came in. Using AI to build me a logo, a website, and social content so I could start Walton Goggins goggle glasses.
Because if your goggles ain't Goggins, they don't belong on your noggins.
Did they really launch an entire sunglasses brand for a GoDaddy Super Bowl spot? It seems so ridiculous. But the thing is, the glasses actually exist. This masterful slow burn started all the way back in November. There's a fully functional website built with GoDaddy Aero, which is a new AI software that helps brands build their website.
GoDaddy helped me launch my business, then showed the world how. There was a Super Bowl ad.
I'm observing some debris coming from Uranus.
Online videos, out of home, earned coverage.
GoDaddy says its AI component can make anyone look like we know what we're doing, even when we have no clue.
And social content. Thousands of earned media placements generating billions of impressions.
This is working.
They committed to long-term storytelling and literally built a business to help hook people and get them emotionally invested.
We doubled the traffic to GoDaddy, and I sold so many Walton Goggins goggle glasses.
I feel very cool in these.
You ever cut onions in these bad boys?
Oh, I've cut onions in them.
Oh, I can't wait to cut onions in these.
How did I do?
Goggins!
I'm sure these goggles aren't distracting at all. I'll only wear them for a minute or two, but they are awesome. And they're real. We got them.
They're very real and very comfortable and perfect here. So that was really, really cool to see. Thank you for sharing that. But I think we need to get into the topic of our conversation, which is creating a pop culture phenom. That's actually a product demo. And I think you need to explain about that creative and what he actually was utilizing GoDaddy for to launch this product.
All right, so let's dive in. So if you don't, let me start with what GoDaddy does, and I'll be really brief. Some of you in this room might be like, oh, I know what you do. Like, I have domains with you. I make ideas. That's what I do. I go to your website, I buy domains. But GoDaddy's job is actually to do all the digital work for small businesses, really powering them. So when we decided we were going back to the Super Bowl, we realized that we needed a meaningful way to tell this story. We called it a product demo, right? Who wants to watch a product demo at the Super Bowl? No one, right? So we ended up deciding that the best way to tell this story would be through an entrepreneur. If any of you have ever made a Super Bowl ad, you know competition's high and celebrities are aplenty. And for us, we decided the best way to tell this story was, number one, with a celebrity that was a phenomenal match for our brand. I'm going to wax poetic about Walton Goggins in a bit because truly love him, an amazing human, brand voice, on our voice, like so bright. Anyways, list goes on and on. But we wanted someone to work with us who was truly an entrepreneur. We wanted the story to be real. Walton started his show business, running his own valet company. He's been a personal trainer with a website. He owns a distilling company. He knows what being a small business entails. So we asked him if he was interested in building a business on GoDaddy Aero, and he did it and ran it for multiple months without GoDaddy talking about it at all, because we wanted to prove that the product does the work, and it did. And what was amazing, I mean, you saw behind us, our hope, right? You can never hope for lightning in a bottle, but our hope was that this product was just ridiculous enough that people were like, there's no freaking way this thing is real. And by the way, if you're a Goghead, which is what you go by if you're a Goggins fan, the social media commentary was bananas. Like, I have never seen such love. People were like, I will buy whatever you are making, whatever ad you just played, because he built his own advertisements for his product with GoDaddy Aero. They were like, we love this so much. And it validated that the partnership was both the right thing for our brand, but more importantly, the right thing for the world. And it took off. I mean, we've sold thousands and thousands of Aero subscriptions since launching this campaign, and he has sold thousands and thousands of Goggins goggles, and the story continues. So yes, we ran a Super Bowl ad, but again, any marketers in the room, don't think of an ad as just an ad. It has to be a story that continues. And so for us, like, we're telling stories about his business, and he's telling stories about his business, and he is all in. So that I don't talk at you for the next 25 minutes about how much I love Walton Goggins and the work that he's done, I'll pause because I'm sure there are a lot of different directions we can go from here.
Yes, I'm sure we can. I have to be honest, and we talked about this when I was doing my research. There was a lot that I didn't know about him, and he is quite the entrepreneur. And I'm sure that aligning talent to your brand voice is something that was clearly really important. And GoDaddy had been in the Super Bowl space, but it's been quite a while. So when you were thinking about getting back into it, was it the product? Was it him? What was the process of getting back into the space in this timing? Because I know it also wasn't about just that Super Bowl moment, which so many brands do create campaigns for. There was so much before, which you talked about a little bit, so much after. So tell me a little bit about how you got there after having been out of that space for so long.
I love this question. The reason that we went to the Super Bowl was because we had a product that warranted being on that stage. Don't advertise for advertising's sake. Advertise because you actually are solving a customer's problem, and it's a story that they should hear. And then figure out how to tell that story in a way that people actually want to hear it. But for us, when we launched GoDaddy Aero, which is our AI-enabled set of tools, we're like, we're ready. Like, the world actually needs to know this version of GoDaddy. But again, if that was the ad, right, yawn, you'd all stop paying attention. And so for us, that's where Walton came in. And the serendipity of his voice is our voice was just one of the many benefits that we got from the partnership.
Yeah. And I'm going to just go back to your quote that I mentioned in the beginning about understanding and advocating for the consumer. And I think for your consumers that you were targeting, that's the exact piece that you were trying to accomplish in that.
That's true. I mean, you may or may not have seen it because 2 minutes goes by really fast if you didn't see the video. But the insight ultimately is small business owners, and if I'm talking to any of you who are small business owners, they know how to do their thing. Like, they're awesome at their thing, right? Like, they are amazing hairdressers, artists, consultants. But you know what they don't want to be spending time doing? Everything digital for their business. You know why? Because it's daunting for them, right? There's conflict in that story. Like, what's getting in the way of them running their business is the confidence to know how to do all those things, right? I don't want to tell stories of fear and doubt, but that confidence that gap in confidence is real. And that's where Arrow comes in, right? So the story really was about Walton launching his business. But as he said multiple times, both in that video and in the content that you may or may not see when you're watching TV late at night, is he knew how to do this, but he had no idea how to do all the other things. And customers say that to us all the time. So it's a real human insight. So whether you love Walton Goggins or not, whether you know what GoDaddy Arrow is or not, what we've heard from customers and what we've seen from the data is people connect to that insight. They're like, oh my gosh, you're right. I don't know how to do this thing, but wait, with this tool, I actually know how to do it. And like I said, the results have been better than we would have expected because that insight really is a human insight that resonates.
Completely. Let's talk a little bit about the storytelling aspect of it. We talked about the product. Now, when you think about attention spans, right, in how short they are, how did you think about what that storytelling was going to look like across some of these multiple campaigns, and how did you tackle that to really get across your messaging?
Yeah, I don't need to tell you guys that attention span is short, because I would imagine you've probably mentally gone in and out several times even during this 20 minutes, right? There's just so much vying for our attention. And you really need to think about that as a creative and as a marketer. How do you tell the story for the medium, right? So the great news, right? If Walton Goggins as an actor is constantly looking like he's knowing what he's doing by stepping into actor roles, the distance from I don't know what I'm doing to I do know what I'm doing and the role the product can play is really fast, which is great. So we spent a lot of time thinking about, how do we tell this story socially? How do we tell this story at a glance? How do we tell this story in longer form? And what I wish Walton was here because I am singing his praises, and we've told him this too. This wasn't a story to him. This is his business, and he was all in. So him telling the story and us getting to repost his content was, beyond our expectations because, like I said, he's a phenomenal actor, phenomenal human, and people love him. So that got a lot of attention too.
That's awesome. Talk to us a little bit more about the specific elements of the campaigns now. So storytelling obviously has to be told in different ways on different platforms. How did you approach it, and talk about some of those integrated moments? Because I know there were some really pop culture-y ones that I think we should hear about.
Yeah, so for us, we really thought about this campaign, and we're still thinking about it as the long game, not to make ridiculous football analogies. But, right, he launched his business in November. I know you guys all know the Super Bowl was in February 9th, not a great game. We were in the fourth quarter, 2-minute warning. That was tough, but that's a whole other story. And then the campaign continues. So when we think about the storytelling for us, like some of the meaningful moments were commitments from Walton to tell his business story. Walton launched his business in early November before Black Friday. He also was shortlisted for GQ Man of the Year, and he wore these bad boys on the red carpet with his outfit, and people were like, what is happening? He was on Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. You may have seen Dax and Kristen if you were paying attention to the video, and talked at length about the product. He built TikToks cutting onions, so he taught us a lot about how you get attention with lots of different formats. And then we built on top of that. So when he started to talk about the fact that he wouldn't have had this business if it wasn't for GoDaddy Arrow, when we started to tell our version of the story, people started to pay attention. One of the clips that was in the Super Bowl spot was him playing the role of race car driver. If you know our brand well, we had a long-term relationship with the race car driver. So our teaser was super fun. It's someone in a car turning a key, laughing. And the attention that we got from that, because folks were like, oh my gosh, it's Danica Patrick. No, it wasn't Danica Patrick. It was Walton Goggins. But figuring out these little moments to get people hooked into the story. Because here's the deal, guys. People don't want facts. They want story. So it had to be and has to be a story that can continue to evolve. And we're continuing to learn, continuing to build on it.
Yeah. And I think having that story told with a level of authenticity when, you look to what he was actually doing, building that product with GoDaddy became something that was trusted, right? And people have such an affinity for him. And then obviously extending to that. Pretty cool. Tell me about your time at GoDaddy and and because you've been at some big brands, doing some really cool things, but what brought you to GoDaddy, and what are the things that keep it exciting for you as a marketer?
Yeah, my belief as a marketer is we're always trying to think about what's in it for our audience, right? So let me try to make sure that I'm talking about my time at GoDaddy specific to how it could be relevant for you. I mean, for me, what really mattered was I wanted to work on a brand that had a mission, like that was actually doing good for the world. And with all due respect, I loved my time at Amazon Fashion and Vans, but I sold fashion, and that didn't speak to my heart. And so when I learned about GoDaddy, and by the way, when I was first reached out, I was like, wait a minute, this is about Danica and domains and maybe some bombastic Super Bowl advertising. I think you called the wrong person. They're like, whoa, wait. Like, this is about the mission, and just give us a chance and get to know us. So my feedback to all of you, if you're contemplating what's next in your career, like I actually really listened to them when they said that. And I spent 6 months talking to the leadership team at GoDaddy. And what I learned was they were on a brand, like really in the midst of a brand transformation. I know that's like cheesy buzzwords. If you're playing business bingo, like you can yell bingo out if I've dropped a lot of those terms. But they were really we are really trying to change the perception, not just of who we are as a brand and a company, but our product set. And that's a super hard job, right? It's a long job. That's why I've been there 6.5 years. And I feel like we've made meaningful change from a perception standpoint. We hear that from our customers. I know that from a product standpoint, but I joined for the mission and I joined for the people. Like I said, I labored the decision, and it's the best decision I've made in my career.
That's awesome to hear. While we are talking about learning, and I think we should all always be continuing to learn, and this is for marketers or non-marketers in the room, but what is something that you think CMOs need to know or are expected to know that they didn't 6 years ago, say?
I mean, maybe 6 minutes ago, right? Like, I feel like everything's changing so fast. I'm maybe going to pivot the question a little bit to something that I think marketers need to remember. And it's that we are in the business of serving people, right? Like we are serving humans, right? We have 6 years ago was data, right? Like we had so much information at our fingertips that could help us better position, better personalize, better target. We still have that, right? Now it's AI, right? So
yeah.
the pressure of that. But at the end of the day, better data, better technology, getting us better answers faster. We still have to capture attention of humans, right? And the way you talk to humans is through their head or their heart. And so what I would encourage all of us to think about is, yes, the landscape's changed like dramatically, and the math and magic continuum is collapsing. The expectation as a marketer is that you have to do both those things. But the fundamentals haven't changed. Like, we're still responsible for people.
I truly believe that. I think that's why I called out your comment that I had come across about understanding and advocating for the consumer, because I think with data and analytics, it becomes almost secondary to like, what is your true goal? I often say that when we talk I'm at Vizio, and I usually will turn it back on someone that I'm talking to say, well, how do you watch TV on a smart TV? And, think about it that way, because truly that's what that experience is, in the same way when you're marketing. So let's talk about what's next for GoDaddy. And, I'd love to hear what you're thinking about that may be unexpected, anything that you can share.
Well, what I would say is, keep your eyes peeled. We're working with Walton, throughout the course of this year for certain. If you've been paying attention at all, it's clear that we're super happy with that partnership. We think he's a great advocate for our brand. And so you'll see a lot more from him and from us over the next year. Our product's changing every day because it's AI enabled, so more to come there. And the brand transformation work isn't done. I mean, let's be honest, if any of you are affiliated with brands, you're never done with that work. But we still have a lot more work to do, but it's super motivating work to me.
Yeah, I think we will all have our eyes peeled and really excited to see what's next. Anything to share from your experience here at Cannes in terms of, what you're hearing? Is it all about AI? Is it analytics? Like, what are you leaned into here for your experience?
You know what I love? I thought it would be all about AI. This is my, full admission, this is my first Cannes, right? I said that I would never come to Cannes unless we were shortlisted, and we're shortlisted, so I'm here. So I'm super excited. And I showed up and I was like, whoa, It's a lot. And I really did think it would be more AI, more media. And by the way, love our media partners, use AI more than I use any other tool.
But I have heard AI is less. I've heard that from a couple of people, a little less on AI, which was surprising to a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and maybe I'm hearing what I want to hear, but I'm hearing a lot about the importance of creativity and storytelling. And that's what really motivates me, right? So I keep seeking out opportunities to talk about story and talk about how you build stories and why story matters and why story connects people. And I've had a lot of really great conversations with people that I've known over the years and some new folks that I've just met. That gives me just a tremendous amount of hope on the power and longevity of storytelling.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much for being here. When is the announcement for the award? Tonight?
Yeah, tonight. Okay. So wish us luck.
Good luck on that, and we wish you much success. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys.